In a quiet, dusty village, there lived a kind but lonely woman everyone called Mom and Kem. She and her husband had longed for children, but despite their prayers and efforts, none had ever come. With each passing year, her sadness grew heavier, like a shadow that refused to leave. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and her hands worked the familiar clay she used for pottery, an idea blossomed in her mind. "If I cannot have children of my own," she murmured softly, her voice trembling with emotion, "perhaps I can create them." Her heart heavy yet hopeful, she began molding the clay with delicate, purposeful hands. She shaped tiny figures, each one different, each one special. She carved their faces with care, giving them expressions full of life, and shaped their bodies with precision. When her work was done, she stepped back and gazed at her creations. 10 small clay children, each no taller than her knees. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of joy. She placed them gently in the corner of her hut. She lay down to rest, her heart feeling just a little lighter than before. The next morning, the woman awoke to a strange sound. Laughter. Children's laughter. She rushed to the corner of her hut and gasped. She saw that the clay children were alive. They danced and played, their tiny voices filling the room. The news spread quickly, and soon the whole village came to see the miracle. Everyone marveled on seeing the clay children. Some villagers whispered that the gods had finally blessed her, while others were uneasy, sensing something unnatural. The children brought the woman joy she had never known. They sang songs, helped her with house chores, and filled her lonely hut with life. But strange things began to happen. One evening, the woman's neighbor claimed he saw the clay children wandering the village at night, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Another villager found his chickens dead, their bodies oddly flattened, as if crushed by heavy hands. At first, the woman dismissed these stories as superstitions. "They are just children," she said. But soon, she began to notice the strange behavior herself. The clay children's laughter sometimes sounded too sharp, almost like a hiss. They moved with unnatural speed, their tiny hands leaving strange marks wherever they touched. One night, she woke up and found the clay children standing around her bed, their glowing eyes fixed on her. "Mama," they whispered in unison. "Why did you leave us alone for so long?" Their voices sounded unnatural, and their faces began to twist and crack, revealing something dark beneath. Terrified, the woman tried to explain that she never meant to leave them, but they accused her of wanting to abandon them. As they moved closer, their presence grew more menacing, and shadows stretched around her. She prayed desperately, begging for help. The tallest child leaned in and warned, "If you send us back, we will be alone forever. But if we cannot stay, neither can you." Suddenly, the room went icy cold, and everything went dark. The children were gone, but their small clay footprints remained, a chilling sign they might return. Frightened, the woman sought the advice of the village elder. She explained how the clay children had come to life, describing every detail with trembling hands. The elder listened silently, his expression dark and thoughtful. The village elder said to her, "The clay you used to mold the children comes from the sacred river. That river holds the spirits of the restless. You have given them bodies, but they are not children. They are something else entirely." He warned her that the clay children would grow stronger and more dangerous. "They are tied to you," he said firmly. "Only you can send them back to where they belong." The woman was curious and confused. "How can I send them back?" she asked the village elder. The village elder gave her a small pot, filled with something like water inside, and told her to use it on the clay children, and they will return to where they came from. That night, the woman gathered the clay children in her small hut, her heart heavy with fear and sorrow. Her hands shook as she prepared to speak. "My children," she began, tears streaming down her face. "You do not belong here. I must send you back to where you came from." The children's faces twisted in anger, their glowing eyes burning brighter in the dim light. "You want to leave us again?" they hissed, their voices chilling and unnatural. As they stepped toward her, their small forms began to grow, their clay skin cracking and reshaping into monstrous figures. The woman clutched the pot of sacred water the elder had given her. With trembling hands, she splashed the water onto the advancing figures. The children let out piercing screams, their voices echoing unnaturally through the night. One by one, they crumbled into lifeless piles of clay, leaving only silence behind. By dawn, the woman's hut was silent. The clay children were gone, their remnants scattered on the floor. The villagers came to comfort her, but her heart was heavy with grief and guilt. From that day on, she never touched the sacred clay again. Her story became a warning to others about the dangers of playing with forces they didn't understand. Though the clay children were gone, their laughter sometimes echoed faintly in the wind, a haunting reminder of the price of her wish. Thanks for watching. Follow up for more interesting stories.